Grace Lyons, Oklahoma softball player. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
How are you?
I'm really good. This is awesome that you guys are here.
Well, thank you for having us. As we're chatting, you're going into your final season at OU. What thoughts come to mind when you think about that heading into your final season here?
Yeah, it's weird because I feel like it's gone by so quickly, and now it's kind of like the light at the end of the tunnel, but in a good and bad way. Because I'm super excited just to play this last season and have fun and see what will happen. But also, it is the last season of college softball, which, if you know anything about softball in general, that's kind of one of the highest stages that you can be at. College is getting all the attention, and I'm excited to focus on the legacy that I'm going to leave. So that's kind of my mindset kind of going into this year.
Yeah. Well, you're coming off back-to-back national championships. You guys will be going for a third. Clearly, the program that you're a part of here is pretty special. And so I want to go back to a little bit to the recruiting process. You're from Arizona, and there are some good programs in Arizona. There's some good programs in California, a little bit closer to home, but you chose Oklahoma. Obviously, one of the premier softball programs in the country. Was Oklahoma kind of at the top of your list? Did you have a list when you were in high school playing softball?
Yeah, so the recruiting process was a lot earlier years ago when kind of me and the upperclassmen were getting recruited. And I started getting looked at in 8th grade. And I actually had switched over from baseball to softball around that time. So when I was playing baseball, I didn't know about college softball and what the premier programs were. So right when I hopped into softball is when it started, and schools were coming after me, and I just was able to go on visits and kind of take notes as I went. And I knew, who was successful, but I was young, and thankfully my mom had a really good impact on that, kind of leading me a little bit, but letting me make my decision. So I wasn't really well versed on OU softball, but I did notice just the family culture here. It was my first visit, so I kind of compared everything to it, which is now looking back, I know why I'm here. But when I was in 8th grade, I didn't see everything that was in the culture like I do now.
Okay, so in 8th grade, that was your only visit, nothing while you were in high school?
So in 8th grade I committed the summer going into my freshman year of high school. Okay. So throughout all of high school, I knew I was going to OU. So I went on visits all of my 8th grade school year. Okay,
so was it not until you got here that you really started to understand what the culture is like? You maybe got glimpses of it before getting here, but really... Yeah. Once you got here, you could really feel the culture here?
For sure. And I think because on the outside, I would come on visits throughout high school once a year, twice a year. So I kind of got to know the girls, but I didn't really know what they were doing. I knew Shay Knighton had a really cool story and injuries and just seeing how she dealt with that. So I kind of knew that there were Christians on the team. Coach was a Christian, good family dynamic. But honestly, I didn't know until I got kind of submerged in the culture and jumped right into it that I figured it out and wanted to be a part of it.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask. Was your faith, the faith-centered program here, was faith a deciding factor or helpful in your decision to come here?
I know it's kind of, when I look back at my testimony, I got baptized in my freshman year of high school. So I'd already committed to OU, and I would say that I was saved as a kid. I'm not sure the exact time or moment because I grew up in a Christian household, knew who Jesus was, knew that I was going to go to heaven by just surrendering my life to him. But I finally got baptized my freshman year of high school, and that's kind of when it all made sense to me, and I started being all in. But when I committed, I wouldn't say that I was mature in my faith. And I still grew in high school, but that it wasn't a priority, I guess. When I committed, I knew that was important to me, but it wasn't like it is now.
So clearly faith is a big part of this program, led by Coach Gasso, but faith can't be forced on players. Coach Gasso can't do that. You guys can't do that as players. But there is fellowship among the team. Does that have to be led by players? Like you guys are you intentional about trying to have fellowship amongst your teammates?
Oh, 100%. I know being at a public university, the coaches can't really have much of a say with that. So it's been really cool to be challenged as a spiritual leader. And that all started as a freshman, to where I felt like the Lord had called me to be something more than just taking in, but I needed to go pour out. And I've learned how to do it over the 4 years. And it changes with different teams, different players. But it has to start from the inside, and it's been really cool to see it grow, and just see our team Bible study grow, our just eagerness to learn about it, asking questions in the locker room. It's changed over the last 4 years, but it has to start in the inside, and that's where you go pluck off individuals, and that's how you grow your group. And I've seen that happen over the last 4 or 5 years.
So as you're doing that, your players need to lead it, but you know you're not going to get any sort of opposition, I guess is the word that comes to mind from your coaches. You know that you're not going to be opposed in doing any of that.
Oh, I've brought up things to coach, ideas that I have, speakers that we want to bring in, and she's all about it. So if I go to coach about it, she's going to listen to a player from what the players want. So, we're blessed enough to have multiple Christians on the team. I know other schools, there's only 1 or 2, and it's really hard to get that movement going as a group, and to unite under that mission. But thankfully, we have a bunch of Christians on the team, and that goes to coach recruiting, just awesome people who she sees something different in, and that's when you bring in players who are at least open to it. So we have a ton of players who are open to it, and over the years, seeing people who weren't believers or didn't know about it just finally coming to faith, and it's one of the coolest things that I could have memories on in college.
Yeah. So Shea Knighton and like Sydney Romero were some strong players here before your time, or kind of into your time. Strong believers as well. Is this kind of Christian leadership, is it kind of passed down, like from kind of one generation to the next? Is that how it kind of goes here now at Oklahoma?
Yeah, something that I've learned specifically in FCA is who's going to be the person behind you that is going to replace your footsteps. And, Shea Knighton, Fale of You, Sydney Romero were 3 that were always at Bible study. They invited me. They invited us to church. And that made me more comfortable so that I could go share my faith with people who came behind me or my fellow class mates in that. So it has to start older, but also I was a freshman. So I came in, and I feel like, and I know Sydney would share this with me, she shared this with me my freshman year, that I actually had an impact on her, me as a freshman on a senior, which I think just shows it doesn't matter how old you are, where you're at in your faith, but if you're willing to just be consistent and be bold about it, anyone can be influenced. And I see that it's super cool with fans and just watching our team. You have older fans looking at 18 to 22-year-olds, and they're encouraged and influenced in so many different ways.
Yeah. What does some of that fellowship look like amongst the team? I know you have a team chaplain, Sarah Roberts, but she does not live here.
Right.
So you guys are able to communicate with her through Zoom. But are you guys going to FCA here on campus together? Are you starting Bible studies amongst yourself without a chaplain? Are you guys going to church together? What does some of that fellowship look like amongst the team?
During the week, when we're not at the softball field, I think that's one of the biggest places that you grow relationships. When you're not at the softball field, yes, we can have fun and joyful on the field, but we're going to go create those relationships off the field. And FCA Thursday nights is one of my favorite days of the week. Just bringing teammates and seeing other athletes, also going to church together. That's one of the most important things to me, is that we meet on and we can worship together on Sunday morning and then go talk about the message throughout the week, and invite new believers, people who maybe aren't believers, to church, and just welcome them there. And then we have a team Bible study during the week. And one of our, I would say a mentor of a lot of ours, she runs the Bible study for us. She kind of prepares stuff so that we can come and just learn and listen and grow and share at Bible study. So our week's pretty full of a lot of things that people can come and be a part of. They can choose what they want to come to, but I think it's cool to have a lot of opportunities for girls to come and ask questions and just feel welcomed at.
And who is that mentor that kind of helps you guys?
Her name's Tara Pogue.
Okay. We
kind of met her through church, and another teammate's family member. So she's been an awesome influence on a lot of us.
One thing I noticed, maybe it was only this past year, maybe it's gone on in previous years, but one thing I noticed was praying with the opposing team after games.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to hear how that started. I think you had a hand in that, but how did that start? What came about to say, let's go pray with the other team after our games?
Yeah, that actually started at the beginning of last year. So that was Lindsay Elam's super senior year, my senior year. And we were talking after the Mary Nutter tournament. We were in the back of the bus, and we were just chatting, kind of brainstorming how we wanted this season to look, leadership-wise, how we can have an influence. And I don't know who brought it up, but one of us was like, why don't we try to invite the other team to pray after the game with us and just see how that works? And we're like, I mean, they could ignore us or just kind of not want anything to do with it. But we talked about it, and then we asked the team, hey, should we try to do this? And they were all on board with it. So that kind of started at the beginning of last season. And it kind of takes me back to high school when I was just starting to grow in my faith, and my high school coach encouraged me to pray out loud for the first time. And I was terrified. I didn't know how to do it. And it took her encouragement for me to step out of my comfort zone and pray with my team. And then it got to a point where she said, let's invite the other team. And so we ended up circling up with the other team in high school my whole career after that freshman year. And I got flashbacks to that, just remembering how God, encouraged me, challenged me through another believer to do that. And then now in college, we're able to do that and show our teammates, show other teammates, just the importance of why we play, and just the platform that softball gives us, no matter the outcome of the game.
That's so cool. The only other sport I've really seen it in is the NFL. A lot of players will take the time to kneel at midfield after games. But that's really cool to just see how your faith supersedes the game. Like, faith is more important than the game. And I just love how bold you are with your faith. We talked to one of your teammates, Riley Boone, and she said you've had a big influence on her. I guess is this something that you have grown into as this spiritual leader role, and something that you intentionally go about trying to, how can I pour into others during my time here, however long that may be?
Yeah, it's definitely come from, me reading the Bible, realizing what my purpose is, what is God's will for each of our lives. And ultimately, overall, our will is to glorify Him in all that we do. That's why we're created. So then how can I best glorify the Lord? Well, I look at Matthew 28 that talks about how we're supposed to go and make disciples, baptizing them, teaching them. And that Great Commission is something that, as believers, no matter where we are, sports, workplace, students, children, parents, that's our job. That's our purpose. And I look at softball as kind of my mission field right now. That's what I'm doing right now. That's kind of where I'm at. And how can I best glorify the Lord? And that's by going and making disciples wherever I'm at. So with my teammates is an awesome opportunity, with fans, showing what I stand for, hoping to encourage other people in their faith. And specifically with just my boldness, I feel like I love to encourage other believers. That's kind of my sweet spot. And I know I need to grow it, finding people maybe who aren't believers and bringing that conversation up. But if I see something in someone that shows that they're eager either to know about Jesus or they have a little bit of what I did initially, that's who I'm going to go after, because I want to explain to them how much the Lord loves them, and I want them to be able to be bold and go and make disciples in their own circles whenever they're done.
Another thing that I've loved just watching this program from afar is some baptisms. Players on the team want to get baptized, and it looks like there's a lot of teammates that are there. How do some of these baptisms come about? Is it something that's talked about amongst the team, from the team chaplain, or we don't have to get so specific, but how does some of the players know, like, I want to get baptized, and then how do you guys go about, like, yes, let's make this happen?
Yeah, we definitely don't force it on people or make it something that is an expectation when you come in this program. But baptism is just an outward expression of what happens on the inside. And my goal and what I feel like I'm called to do is to let them know about Jesus and let the Lord work in their own hearts in His own timing. So, and that's by putting them in the presence of God wherever they can. So whether it's church, whether it's a softball field where they can know that this is, our platform, and what does that mean? And I think seeing just their hearts being changed and softened by God, because we can't do that. I can't do that. I can't say something that sounds appealing to them. Only the Lord can do that. And just encouraging them to read and understand who Jesus is and what is salvation, what is all that. So it's been cool to see those conversations happen. And when they make that decision, it's so cool to see. And just to know that I have a little part of their story. And I know so many of our teammates have been a part of that. And that's going to be some memories that I'll never forget. I know one memory, COVID year, the last moment and memory that we had of that season was one of our teammates getting baptized right after the season was cut short. And I think she'll never forget that. And then with Tiare Jennings, I know we went on a trip to OU, Texas, and on the way back, she was saved in a Buc-ee's parking lot. So some of those moments of just knowing, yes, that leads to baptism, but knowing that God ultimately chooses them and has a different plan for their life than maybe what they thought earlier before coming to college.
Now, in your role here, you have become a spiritual leader, but you're also a leader on the team. You're one of the older players on the team. How do you look at chemistry, team chemistry, or team bonding, whatever you want to call it? How do you go about doing that? Believers, non-believers, what are some things that you do or the team does to try to build that camaraderie amongst the team?
Yeah, and it's college is such an interesting place because college can be seen as a worldly thing and just all the temptations that come in with college. So I had to prepare myself going into college to know that I wasn't gonna feed into just temptations and struggles that maybe other people struggled with. And I think for me, I've learned that I want to be able to create opportunities just for everyone to, like you said, build team chemistry and just in unique ways that maybe is not the typical way to build friendships and team chemistry. So I think it's cool that we can get together over dinner. Someone makes dinner one night, invites the whole team over, or we do a lot of team volleyball. Our team loves going to play volleyball either at the rec center or in someone's backyard. So we definitely find ways that everyone can come together, and those are some of the coolest times where believers can stick out in how they act and speak and just do things differently. So I try to encourage other people like that, and I've had to learn that hard ways and just being consistent. So learning how to be different than the world, but being able to have fun and continue to be joyful in those times when you're around non-believers.
I love that. So you're, like we talked about, you're going into your final season, but the sort of spiritual leadership role kind of gets passed down. How do you feel about? Are you leaving it in good hands? Is this program in good hands going forward? Oh
yeah, we've got a lot of great characters, and there's so many people who are seeking after the Lord. And I, as leaving a legacy, as that's my mindset, I definitely want to focus on who am I going to leave that with. And I see Riley Boone, she's a year younger than me, so she's got another year after I'm done, and wanting her to step up and lead. And then Tiare does it in a quiet way, but her consistency and being able to be consistent on the field, off the field, that's something that I really see in her, that I want her to share that with others. Jordy Ball, her boldness and just, she's not afraid to say what she feels and believes. Yeah. And the list can go on and on because there's so many awesome players that I've been able to have and build relationships with. But those are some of the few that I'm excited to see just what they do with it. And I hope I can continue to be in their lives and just for encouragement, for just a phone call away that they can know that I'm there supporting them along the way.
Well, so what I love about this program is obviously we're at your team facility right now, and there's the championship mindset is posted all around, and you guys have won 6 national titles, so clearly one of the best softball programs in the country. But like we're also talking about, there's a lot of believers here too, and my mind goes to how did that happen? Well, Patty Gasso has a big impact on that? Obviously, she's been the coach here for many years. What is Coach Gasso's influence or impact been on you coming through this program? You've been here, coming into your last season here. So looking back from where you were as a freshman to now, what has Coach Gasso's influence been like on your faith journey?
I think that she gives us a lot of opportunities to run with it however we want to. And by introducing me to Sarah Roberts, that was one of the most influential women in my life, Sarah, and just allowing that connection to happen. And then just Coach allowing me to pray and invite the other team, and allowing us to have chapels available, just because that's a rare thing for a coach to even be okay with. I've known people who lose their job and get persecuted for being a Christian. And Coach has done a great job of allowing us to have our space to do that, and encouraging us, asking us questions. And we create props with our themes, our biblical themes. So knowing that that's going on behind the scenes allows us to be free, play with freedom, play with confidence in the Lord. And I think it's just been such an amazing time allowing us to have those chances to just be us and bring people along the way as we go.
Last question I want to piggyback off something you just said is Sarah Roberts' influence. She's the team chaplain. She doesn't live here, but obviously has had a huge impact on this program. What has her influence been like on you?
Yeah, Sarah Roberts is so wise. She is one of the most passionate women in her faith that I've ever met. And she really it encourages me. And like I talked about, you need people who are pouring into you. You need people who you're pouring into, and people who are right beside you. And she's one of the ones that pours into me. And just, if I have questions about how to share a message, how to go about that, I ask her. If I have questions on what's it like being a mom, being a wife, she's someone that I can learn a lot of wisdom from. And just her being able to share so many cool things with us, and what does that mean? What does that mean relationally? She does a great job with that, and it's been so cool to have her, whether it's on Zoom or in person, supporting us. She's cheering her head off at the World Series. We see her in the front row at almost every World Series I've been to. So what an amazing lady, and I'm definitely hoping to follow in her footsteps, learn from her and all of her wisdom.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Well, it's been so cool to watch you guys. You clearly have one of the best softball programs in the country, but one of the best team cultures around. So thank you for taking some time to join us today, and best of luck to you guys. And we look forward to watching you guys this season. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for watching today on Sports Spectrum. Make sure you click that subscribe button so you don't miss any other videos. And if you want more stories on sports and faith, check out our website, sportsspectrum.com.